In part one of my Spain series, I showed our arrival in Madrid and gave a short tour of the hotel and had lunch at the hotel restaurant. I also visited some watch stores attached to the hotel, including Cartier and Rolex. It turns out that Rolex was just a smaller branch, and there's a larger store within walking distance. So in today's video, I'll visit the other Rolex boutique, and there's also several other boutiques in the same area. They have JLC, IWC, Panerai, AP, Vacheron, and Rolex. We'll see which one of these boutiques I visit today. Before that, I'm having breakfast and I'm visiting two museums, the Royal Palace and the Cathedral. The breakfast buffet is located in the hotel restaurant on the seventh floor. They have a huge variety of options, and I've eaten there twice and haven't gotten close to tasting everything. Everything is high quality and fresh. On the first plate, I have these scrambled eggs. They're soft and fluffy, just like I prefer. I never get this consistency when I try to make them at home. It always comes out overcooked or undercooked or a mixture in between. There's several varieties of fish, including two varieties of salmon. This is the first one, and then there's also a smoked salmon. Both of them have the perfect taste and texture. The guacamole is also a menu item as a starter, but they include it in the breakfast buffet also. This one is also nicely seasoned, although I think it could use a little bit more lime. There's also some salad items included in the buffet, including the spinach and cherry tomatoes. All the vegetables taste very fresh. The watermelon is crisp and ripe and juicy. They have a variety of melons, including cantaloupe and honeydew melon and papaya. There's also mango and berries. All the berries taste nice and fresh and ripe. Pomegranate is something new for me. I usually don't see it in the store or it's not available, so I usually don't have it. I like the tartness and the crispness of the pomegranate. The Caesar chicken wrapped in lettuce is also a menu item. It looks exactly the same except a little bit smaller and also tastes really nice. I'm eating the scrambled eggs again on the second plate, trying to get some increased protein in my diet. I also noticed that the eggs look like a darker yellow than I'm usually accustomed to. And I looked at a hard-boiled egg and I opened it up and I confirmed that the yolk here is a much darker orange color than I had back at home. The turkey has a really nice flavor, but it is a little bit dry. I got another piece of fish, and this is the salted cod. The taste was good, but except it was just too salty, so I didn't care for it that much. They have several varieties of these breakfast cups. This one is a yogurt with a fruit puree at the bottom. This one had that sour taste of yogurt, but it had the consistency of whipped cream. So it felt like I was eating whipped cream, but it had the taste of yogurt. Coffee and juice are also included, but I just had black coffee. When I asked for refills, sometimes they seem to make a fresh new cup for me. Other times they just seem to refill it from the carafe. After breakfast, we're heading over to the Royal Palace. The hotel has a house car, which gave us a ride over to the Royal Palace. It's only about a 20-minute walk, but we decided to take the car. We also hired a private tour guide that speaks English, and this was arranged through the hotel also. The Royal Palace is still used today for official functions and for visiting dignitaries. It is owned by the Spanish government, which took it over from the Spanish royalty, unlike the British monarchs that own their castles. I'll show a short tour of the different rooms in the Royal Palace. Today was cloudy, but at least it wasn't raining too much. I took most of the video with the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, but I also took along the Fujifilm X100 and this was used for the still photography, and I'll show some of those examples when we go in to see the cathedral. This is nowhere near as large as the Royal Palace and quicker to get through. After returning to the hotel for a little rest, I slipped away and started walking over to the Rolex boutique. I looked it up on the map and it's about 1.3 miles. And there's also a Patek Philippe authorized dealer near there. So I was planning to visit both of these boutiques. I didn't research this area beforehand, so I was pleasantly surprised to see a lot more watch brands in the same area. I walked past Panerai, JLC, and IWC. This area of the city is very nice. It has a lot of high-end luxury brands. Feels almost like walking in New York City in the Soho area, except without the skyscrapers. This Rolex store is also owned by Grassi Jewelers, and I was expecting a little bigger store, and this store was also pretty small and did not have very many exhibition pieces. At the store near the hotel, I tried on the two-tone root beer, and at this location, I tried on the full Ever Rose Gold root beer. They both look great. I'm not sure which one I prefer more. I think overall I like the full Ever Rose Gold version, but I think that color of the Ever Rose Gold doesn't complement my complexion very well. The store also carries a few other brands, including Tudor, but I didn't try on any other watches in this store. Next up, I started heading over to the Patek Philippe authorized dealer, and this is Suarez Jewelers, and they have a good variety of options in the display window. But when I stepped inside, again, it was a very small store inside, and it was very crowded. There were three people working there and three groups of customers, so everyone was occupied. Maybe it was a bad time to visit, but it was a weekend afternoon, so I'm not sure why it was so busy, but it was awkward just waiting there, so I just left and didn't wait to speak to a sales associate. And very close by, I saw a Vacheron boutique, and I was pleasantly surprised at this, so I decided to walk in and visit this store. I only saw one person working there, and he let me in, and he was very nice. I looked at the front part of the store, and I saw the usual options of Vacheron, including the 56, and there were a few versions of the overseas, but I did not see a 222, so I asked him if he had that available. And he said, yes, he did. He brought me back to the VIP section, and he brought out a tray of both versions of the 222. This was my first time handling these versions in person. The steel version of the 222 looked amazing. The color of that blue dial is just perfect. I like that solid stainless steel bracelet integrated to the case. The bracelet actually feels very solid, very well made, tight, and made to very high tolerance. I think they did a great job with this bracelet. The case is very thin. It's a smaller diameter watch, but it actually wears larger than it would seem. So this, I think, fits pretty well on my wrist. It's not too small. If anything, it might be just a little bit too large for my wrist. But he said this watch is not for sale. This is only a prototype. And this is the only steel version of the watch that they have gotten in the store since it was released. But they are not allowed to sell this to anyone. It's just for display given to them by Vacheron. They have not received any models for sale yet this year, and he's expecting that they'll probably only get one piece in each year. And when they come in, they'll be allocated to local clients in Madrid. By the way, I was offered the yellow gold version of the 222 on the spot while I was there. He said they are now much more freely available, even for visitors from other countries visiting Madrid. He said they're much more available now because everyone now is asking for the steel version. I stood outside this AP store and took a few minutes, and I really debated with myself whether I should actually try going inside. After the way I was treated at the AP House in New York City on both occasions, it left a bad taste in my mouth, and it made me a little bit bitter or turned off from the AP brand. But I decided to try to go in anyway, and I asked them if they needed an appointment, and they said usually you need an appointment, but today they let me in as a walk-in. This is AP House, and there's only a few examples of AP House around the world, and the largest is in Milano, Italy. This was a fairly small store, and in the main room they only had four watches for exhibition, and off to the side they had two more watches for exhibition only. I asked him if that's all the watches they have, and he said yes, they only have six for exhibition, but they have a few back in the vault which are available for sale. I didn't ask which ones they had, but I'm suspecting they have the AP code back there available for sale. I tried on the 37 AP Royal Oak, and I tried on the 38 millimeter AP Royal Oak chronograph. I could tell these were exhibition pieces because they were a little bit scratched up, and one of them had a couple links missing, so it was very tight on my wrist. I really wanted the 37 millimeter with the blue dial for a long time, but over time I've wanted it less and less, and I'm less willing to pursue any Royal Oak because I don't want to buy an AP code. But after seeing the blue dial stainless steel 222 in person, I think I like that much better than the Royal Oak. It's so much sleeker and refined, and I think that works better on my wrist. But either way, I won't be getting either of these watches because they're just not available for sale. I was thinking that the steel version of the 222 would eventually become available after 3 or 4 years, and I was willing to wait for that. But after I heard this from the authorized dealer saying they only get one watch per year, I don't think the demand will ever be satisfied with the stainless steel version of the 222. And I do not own any Vacheron at this moment, and I don't have any current plans to buy one. So I will not be in priority for the stainless steel version of the 222. Later that evening, just walking around near the hotel, I stopped into the Swatch store. I just stepped over to the Moonwatch section, and it looks like they have a full variety of examples. The next morning, we'll be leaving Madrid and heading over to Barcelona by train. But this was a really good visit. Madrid is a very nice city and a great place to visit. In the morning, after breakfast, we were heading over to the train station in Madrid and taking the train to Barcelona. That's it for Madrid, but we have a lot more plans for Barcelona and have plans for visiting the authorized dealers there also. So stay tuned for my next video visiting Barcelona, and there will be more authorized dealer visits in that city. And if you can believe it, the hotel we're staying in Barcelona is even nicer than the Four Seasons. Let me know in the comments if you can guess which hotel we're staying in next.